lunchtime smoke, some LJ Peretti Century. It's just what was on the shelf. You know how too much choice, and then one just says, that's it. Hadn't smoked this for a while. This is actually a custom built. Looks just like a Jum. I mean, they gotta be the same, you know. And these shallow, wider bowls want a little drier tobacco, a little better burning tobacco. Sometimes Latakia blends are pretty slow smoking, and so you have to just keep relighting in a shallow bowl like this. Shallow wide bowl. Hadn't smoked this one for a while. It definitely has the patina of age on it. I'd cleaned it out, but it still has some schmutz along the top there that patina. Sometimes when you clear that off, it goes, I don't know, it just looks weird. So, and you know, I could stand I need to get a buffing wheel to buff out my vulcanite, but you know, I just don't care. That's just it. I just don't care. So I had a weekend spent with friends, not just a set of friends, but whoop, fire department.
884 BLS road response, vomiting and diarrhea at the casino, 15347 Suquamish Way Northeast. 884 BLS red.
That's not me. I need to go to that one. Vomiting and diarrhea. Good. I'm sorry somebody's affected that way, but it's not my kind of call. So, anyway, spent it with friends. So Saturday morning, I joined a community group from the community cleaning up one of our local parks. That's always good work to do. And raining like on and off, but really raining when it rained. I can't remember being that wet. I had on that Filson coated cotton stuff, a jacket and a hat. That was like soaked through. That stuff is really good for the usual Seattle rain, which is kind of a misty, heavy mist kind of stuff. But wow, this was a downpour, and it was, yeah, I'm sure Gore-Tex wouldn't have stopped it. People who looked really impervious, you know, all buttoned up in their rain gear, were saying, I'm soaked inside. So, anyway, it was a fun group, it always is. And, yeah, it was good work. And then I had dinner with a couple of friends, close friends of mine. And that is just always really fun. So, deep conversations. Yeah. And then yesterday I went over to Seattle and spent a little time with some friends of mine from the bike club who are retired from that now. One's going to be 90 in July. And has been in and out of the hospital. And so that was a little difficult. I really cherish them. I've known them for 30 years. But, you know, you just reach a point where, you know, I can only do so much. And to do more, I could do more, but it would require a massively larger time commitment, and they're across the water, so I have to ride ferries to get there. So I'm always torn by that, because I have this, from early on I was raised with this service gene, you know, like help when you can, be helpful, be useful, and that's frustrating when you kind of reach the limit of that. So, but friends, you know, I saw it at the community meeting too, that for a lot of married couples, their other is their primary social relationship. So there's a lot of what structure around that, and like a lot of responsibility around that. And I've always kind of had the opinion that having some good friends would be an assistance to a relationship, because that other person in your life, that married one or committed other, doesn't have to take on that burden of being your sole emotional recipient, So, I don't know. Everybody does that different. I think society sort of encourages the Western romantic ideal is to have this one person, one person in my life who is everything to me. And I don't know if that's realistic, and I don't know if that's very workable over time. Maybe it's just me, but when I've been in a committed relationship over a period of time, there are certain areas that you just don't go to in a relationship. It's like, oh, we can't talk about that because it just pulls up so much stuff, maybe from that person's past. They feel bad about it. They aren't willing to process it, by talking about it. And so you just avoid it. And so there are these big areas that you just can't talk about. You just avoid, just for the peace and ongoing serenity of the relationship. I think that's pretty normal, actually. So we aren't all psychoanalysts. I don't know if two psychoanalysts in a relationship, what would that look like, Oh my God. Yeah, I'm not sure that's an ideal either. But I am a believer in transparently talking things out. But my friends on Saturday said, and there's parts, we know you better than anybody else, probably. And yet there are parts of you that we don't know at all. And it's like, really? I'm not trying to hide anything. It's just, I think we just do that as people. We just keep parts of ourselves private, So, yeah. It's human nature. I don't doubt that any of us with little introspection or coaching could probably be more effective in our primary relationships, even in our friendships. And most of us don't do that unless we're under pressure, like, the thing's failing, we need help, throw me a life ring. And then, you start the process of talk therapy or whatever. Most people don't do that unless they have to. So yes. So Chicagoland Pipe Show, coming up in like less than a month. So I'm going to be there. So I'm traveling with friends, and thus I will not be there all the time. And it gets a little exhausting, honestly, if you're there all the time. So I expect we'll spend a day and maybe an evening or two, probably. So, without truly diving into the deep end of that social pool, which is probably most evident, I hear, the first night like Wednesday night, or does it go Friday, Saturday, Sunday? So maybe Thursday night at the hotel, when people open their rooms and everybody just kind of moves from room to room, you know. So I'm sure a lot of business gets done that way. So buying of pipes, if you're refurbishing them or commercially, you know, I'm sure it's useful from a business point of view. But I don't know if I'll be doing that. But I sure did have a great time in the smoking tent last year. I mean, it was awesome. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm probably just gonna like smoke till I'm sick, which sounds stupid, but it's fun. And I'm a pretty lightweight smoker anyway, because I'm a social smoker, right? So I don't have people really to smoke with normally, except like on Saturday, I went down and we smoked like 3 bowls. Gosh, that is the most I have smoked in weeks. And honestly, I hadn't smoked anything for, well, I did smoke at the park cleanup. You know how you feel like you're kind of outing yourself? Because people are so anti-smoking these days, you know, especially here on the Rain Coast, where, you know, we're in the West Coast bubble of political correctness and so forth. That I just hate to smoke around people. So I was over clipping bushes on the periphery, having a pipe, and people had come over and say hi and stuff, and nobody looked askance or, you know, said, or did the little cough, the little fake cough. But yeah, it is. It's kind of like you're outing yourself. Because for most people, I was reading something in the Sunday paper about, you know, healthiness and how to prevent Alzheimer's and so forth. And it's so tip 1, tip 2, tip 3, tip 4. Tip somewhere in there was don't smoke, and it said, but you know that already. You know, it's like, yeah. Kitty, come here. Here, say hello. Yeah, say hello. Yeah, I know. So, you know, it's kind of like you're outing yourself as somebody who does something that is possibly stupid, you know, against common sense. And honestly, if I thought it was truly impacting my health, I wouldn't do it. But, yeah, I know. That's right. I don't smoke in the house. So you're not breathing secondhand smoke. But it is, sometimes it's like, oh, it makes you examine sort of your own inner anti-smoker dialogue, you know, in your thinking mind. So it's kind of interesting. But, oh yeah, in Chicago I'm expecting to just smoke up a storm. And I'll probably pick up a pipe or two. Do I need a pipe? Absolutely not. In fact, that's another thing. I have it set up so that eBay sends me, if certain search word searches come in, it'll send me a notice. And so, you know, I have a fondness, of course, for CustomBilts and older American pipes. These kind of rugged, kind of gnarly pipes. But I also have a fondness for Petersons, as does the rest of the world. They're like the biggest selling pipe in the world, right? So I occasionally will browse through the Peterson, what's for sale, you know. And so I found one I really liked. Oh my God. So it's tax time. Federal taxes are due on the 15th. Property taxes are due on the 30th. So I'm going to be poor as a church mouse. And then I'm going to Chicago at the first of the month and probably pick up a little tobacco for one thing and maybe a pipe or two. Kind of a bottom end guy on pipes. But yeah, that Peterson was pretty nice. An XL28 shape. Wow. Would somebody please buy that pipe so I don't have to? I know. Maybe you should. What do you think? I'll give you my credit card then. Or you could use yours. Pipes are so strange that way, I have more pipes than I could smoke in my lifetime. But then you're drawn to this pipe. It's like, that's it. That's like the perfect shape. So, pipe acquisition disorder. It has a name. So anyway, I gotta get back to work. About done with this bowl. Century's not one of my favorites, I gotta say. But it was kind of dried up. And that's what I was looking for. Something that burned pretty quick and was dried up. So it would at least smoke decently in this pipe. Something that's too moist or too laden with latakia, it just doesn't burn well enough. So anyway, if you're going to be in Chicago, let's get together in the smoking tent. Absolutely.